Happy Friday! Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the third episode of Black Bunny Hole with me, Sheba. Hey! We are gonna go down a rabbit hole today, y'all. A little Black Bunny hole, if you will. If you notice, like, this setup is just getting like cooler and cooler each time, thanks to the amazing Billy. Newest follower, Dr. Miller Newman. Please, somebody else come and follow me so I can tell a cool story about you. And if you want to be the newest and or first donation person, I'd love it. Okay. All right. So, happy Friday. All right. So, if you follow me on Instagram, or if you see the whatever thing for this, we are talking about today Candace Owens. Oh, I know. Just polarizing. Let's see. Candace Amber Owens Farmer Nee Owens. Yup. Born April 29th, 1989. That's not Pisces. I don't remember what that is. But only 33. Isn't that weird? I feel like in my head she's been like in our knowledge for like at least a decade, but she's only 33. And as we'll learn as we go on this deep dive, she wasn't conservative until very recently. So in case you don't know, Candace Amber Owens Farmer is an American conservative author, talk show host, political commentator, and producer. She's been recognized for pro-Trump activism as a Black woman and her criticism of Black Lives Matter and Democratic Party, despite being initially critical of U.S. President Donald Trump and the Republican Party. She worked for Turning Point USA as its communications director in 2021. She joined the Daily Wire, where she hosts a talk show on several occasions. These are her some of the, I will say pretty terrible views. Has claimed that the effects of white supremacy and white nationalism are exaggerated, especially when compared to other issues facing Black Americans. She's expressed anti-lockdown views and anti-vaccination opinions during the COVID-19 pandemic, which for me is, ableism and, it's giving eugenicist, as I tell Billy sometimes when he goes out without a mask. Owens has been criticized for promoting conspiracy theories. She's very anti-trans, very anti-feminism, very anti-Black in many ways. But we'll get into that more later. I don't know if she, considers herself as such. I think she is like, I'm trying to help Black people, well, but like, get out of the Democrats don't want you, like they're screwing you over. Go to the Republicans, where I'm like, well, why do we think the Republican? But it's okay. All right. I just thought she would be a very interesting figure to go through, right? Because for me, myself, hold on, how was my thingy going? I was like, the first two people I've covered, RuPaul, love him. Beyonce, love her. Candace Owens, can't say that I love her. Can't say that I like her. I am intrigued by her. A fellow darker-skinned Black woman who is like really, herself, whatever that means. So I was like, what? Like, where did she come from? How did she come to be Candace Amber Owens Farmer? Because that'll be an interesting part that we'll talk to, how she got the farmer at the end. Okay, all right, so back to this split screen. Early life, she was raised in Stamford, Connecticut. And I was like, okay, Connecticut, that to me is like a white place. She was raised by her grandparents, which is interesting. After around the age of 11 or 12, after her parents divorced. So divorced parents, the third of four children, so she's kind of like almost the baby of the family. Her paternal grandfather, born in North Carolina, has Caribbean heritage. She's a graduate of Stanford High School. In 2007, while a 17-year-old senior in high school, she actually received 3 racist death threat voicemail messages, totaling 2 minutes from a group of white male classmates. I was intrigued about that. I was like, okay, so like I went to a predominantly white high school, so like maybe, you know, she has a similar kind of upbringing, being like one of the few black women in an all-white kind of environment. But I looked it up. Stanford High School, 42% Hispanic, 29.7% white, almost 20% black. That is not how my school was. It was very, like, I'll say like maybe 3% black. And then my sister graduated, so it was like 1.5% black when it was just me there. It was crazy. So I'm very surprised, actually. She went to a very kind of diverse high school in Stamford, Connecticut. It's apparently like 40 miles outside of New York City. So, you know, not like the country or like, you know, the Hamptons. Not that I know if the Hamptons are super white, but in my head they are. It's just interesting. Raised by her grandparents. I had seen a thing. Let me see if I can find it. Candace Owens' grandfather. It was like a Facebook post where she was like talking about her thing. Okay. This is, okay, so I don't know if you can read this. How do I, oh yeah. Let me big this up a little. This is a picture of me and my grandfather, best friend and life mentor. Granddad grew up sharecropping farm in the segregated South. How did he end up in Connecticut? Blah, blah, blah. KKK would come around, shoot bullets into his home at night. Today, he proudly tells me that his daddy used to shoot back at them boys. I never understand when, like, these horrific, like, events happen and, like, they're like, I'm proud. Like, I don't know, you deserved a safe home and your father shouldn't have had to shoot back. And I don't know, I hear that, like, it wasn't great for black people who shot back at the KKK. So it's interesting, like, the stories that people tell. Anyway, she shares this story because she wanted everyone to know why she's conservative. Didn't learn it from Donald Trump. She learned it from growing up with her grandparents, blah, 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 blah. Her grandfather never raised her to see skin tone as a handicap, never excuses, only chores, hard work, and a 30-minute lecture if you ever tried to abandon either. Blah, 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 blah. My blackness has never been up for sale. We'll come back to that. Not to the media, not to anyone, not ever. And then like blah, 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 America great. No excuses in life, folks. Only winners and losers. Hashtag keep America great. Hashtag Monday motivation. You know, it's very interesting. Being raised by black old people, grandparents. I was raised by an older black man from the South. Who certainly did have a lot of bigoted views, you know, that were, you know, very like he grew up in poverty in the South and he was very smart. He like got himself out through education and the military. Candace Owens' grandfather was also, but I always think if I was raised by my grandfather, my father's father, I would have been probably pretty terrible. I would have maybe struggled to, you know, divest from those views. You know, she really seems to idolize her grandfather, and in a way that I don't relate to with my own grandfather. He was a 22 to 25-year-old who married and impregnated my 15-year-old grandmother. So I'm like, why would I think that his other views are like super great? But that does kind of like make a little bit more sense to me why her views seem a little antiquated and, you know, narrow and not good, actively bad, actively like terrible views. Okay, so let's get back in because, okay, Stanford High School, this kind of 42% Hispanic, while a 17-year-old, she started receiving, in a senior, she received these death threats. And so she did this TED Talk in 2016. Um, these are some of the things that were said in these messages. We're gonna tar and feather your family. You better not be there because you might get a bullet in the back of your head, you big whore. Like, just because you're fucking poor and you're black, okay, blah, blah, blah. And so this is actually from her TED Talk, which was in 2016. And so we'll come back to it. So, okay. After, these text messages, Owens' family sued the Stanford Board of Education, alleging that the city didn't protect her rights. They got $37,000 in a settlement in 2008. She has a TED Talk on the subject. So in that TED Talk, she talks about how it was kind of a whirlwind of things, and she became anorexic after it. She was like, the ACLU came and was all like, what did these like racists, do to you? And she felt like it was kind of like out of her hands. She was like, 3 of the kids didn't even like know me. She didn't know if they went to her school. And at the end of it, she's like, she's a millennial like myself. And she's like, these boys weren't racist. They were just, guinea pigs at this time where new technology had come in, new forms of communication had come in. And, we, like, our parents certainly didn't have the tools to like parse through communication and how to communicate with love. And I'm sure these dudes were just kind of doing what's been allowed of white men in positions of power. I think one of the kids was the son of like a former governor of Connecticut. It was like really like high up kind of people. And like, so it was just like, what? So crazy. Anyway, she felt very alone, and she was like, all she wanted was an apology that she never got. And so she had an eating disorder, and she was like, that was like my best friend. That was the thing I could count on. And I definitely understand a lot of women who have undergone, who have experienced trauma. Like, they try to take control of their life through controlling what goes into their body, and so restricting their calories and shit. Anyway, did a TED Talks pursued an undergraduate degree in journalism at University of Rhode Island. I always forget Rhode Island is a state also. It's so little, and like I never hear anything about it, and then I'm like, oh right, that is a state. She dropped out her junior year because of an issue with her student loan. Very interesting, like really not my experience at all of upbringing. So only a high school grad. Afterwards though, she worked as an intern for Vogue in New York. In 2012, she took a administrative assistant job at a private equity firm in Manhattan, later moving up to become its vice president of administration, which is like, that's pretty awesome. Like, she has like come very far, like from not, just having a high school degree, even though she does have a lot of privilege. Like her school, I think it was like 12-to-1 student to teacher ratio, which is like real good, it's just interesting. So interesting. Okay. Early career. She started this company, Degree 180, a marketing agency. It included a blog that she wrote, which frequently posted anti-conservative and anti-Trump content, including mocking his penis size, body shaming. She criticized conservative Republicans, writing that batshit crazy antics of the Republican Tea Party, adding, the good news is they will eventually die off peacefully in their sleep, we hope. And then we can get right on with the obvious social change that needs to happen immediately. Candace Owens, how is like, those are all things I certainly in 2015, what was I, 27 or something? Yeah, totally, absolutely. So super interesting that like in the last 6 years she's really taken a turn. What was her turning point, if you will, because she worked for a turning point. Anyway, okay. So then she launched this, look at her launching all these businesses. Like, okay, black girl. Social Autopsy, a website she said would expose bullies on the internet by tracking their digital footprints. The site would have, users would take screenshots of offensive posts, send them to the website, blah, blah, blah. The proposal was controversial. saying that she was doxing internet users and violating privacy. You know, I'm very much like, if someone is, you know, brave enough to, you know, like say hateful shit, like I want to send it to your mom. I want to send it to your job. I want people to know who you are, you know? Like don't just like try to sneak into my DMs, you know, and harass me. I want everyone to know. Be proud of who you are. Anyway, okay. So, apparently people from all sides of the anti-harassment debate were quick to criticize the database, calling it a public shaming list that would encourage doxing and retaliatory harassment. I mean, yeah, if somebody bullies me, I'm gonna retaliate. But, okay. In response, people began posting her private details online. With scant evidence, Owens blamed the doxing on progressives. After this, she earned the support of conservatives involved in the Gamergate harassment campaign, which was, if you recall Gamergate, it was like a bunch of gamer dudes harassing women gamers. It was a right-wing misogynistic backlash against feminism, diversity, and progressivism in gaming culture. So those guys were like, hey girl, we're with you, including right-wing political commentators and Trump supporters Milo Yiannopoulos, who, if you'll recall, I think he was like, who has also published blah, blah, blah. His speeches and writings criticized Islam, feminism, social correctness. I'm pretty sure he had a fall from grace when he like wrote like a book. He was writing a book that was like, you know, kind of, it was apologizing for or rationalizing like child sexual abuse, or something, you know, allegedly, don't sue me. But anyway, so like that was the type that, you know, came to her aid. So subsequently, Owens became a conservative, saying in 2017, she became a conservative overnight. I realized that liberals were actually the racists. Liberals were actually the trolls. Social autopsy is why I'm conservative. Which is strange because Gamergate is actually a right-wing backlash. So I'm surprised that she felt the opposite. Anyway, then it kind of downhill. Late 2017. That was not that long ago. My dad died in late 2016. That was like 6 years ago or something. So like, she's only, you know, been at this for not that long, and like, she's really, you know, made a name for herself. And yeah, so criticizing notions of structural racism, systemic inequality, and identity politics, which all positions she herself had been publishing 2 years earlier, which she also experienced. Her TED Talk was kind of about, like, you know, not that these kids who sent all these racist messages to her, this racist harassment, she was like, they weren't racist. It's like a system that like says this is how you can interact with people. This is how you can like cut down people. I don't know. And she had said in her TED Talk, it was like the idea of people doing like adults sacrificing empathy for being correct. Like, you know, when she got all these messages, all the adults, you know, were like, we gotta punish these guys, like this, it's like they're shitty, they're racist, oh my god, I can't believe this, and this kind of outrage. And her whole kind of thing in this, wow, that's what a screen grab that I got her on. Unintentional, but like, yeah, so it seems like so in her TED Talk, it was about, you know, like, I wish people would, you know, because you're behind the screen, you know, people would never say this to your face. You know, there are a lot more chicken shit behind a screen, which I say all the time. And she's like, she wishes people would, you know, use the delete button, you know, like, write out this thing and just delete it. Don't even send it. It's not helpful. This isn't really activism. You know, you're not really going out and like putting your body on the line for a cause and things. Which I'm like, yeah, totally. But now it seems like she's like, nah. Which, you know. So, She blah blah blah. She launched Red Pill Black, promotes Black conservatism. A MAGA rally. She went to Turning Point, which is kind of a advocates for conservative politics. Kanye West says, "I love the way Candace Owens thinks" in April 2018. Donald Trump said that she's having a big impact on politics in our country. She objected to what she termed the social lynching of Brett Kavanaugh, if you remember, the sex pest who's placed on the Supreme Court, on the grounds that to believe women was the reason our ancestors got lynched. Girl, no, it wasn't. It absolutely was not. They were going to find a reason to lynch them regardless. The women were a convenient thing sometimes, but girl. And also there was a lot of evidence. Okay, but here on InfoWars. But, Blexit, which is, leaving the Democrat Party for the Republican Party, which why would you do that? Why would you go to the Republican Party? Why would you go to the Democrat Party either? But just cuckoo. Okay, these are a bunch of her terrible kind of views. She's argued that Trump has neither engaged in rhetoric that's harmful to African Americans nor proposed policies that would harm African Americans. It's just, okay, terrible, views, opposes abortion. So it's like this person, she wouldn't like me. So it's a very interesting practice to do a deep dive and kind of have a nuanced understanding of someone who would not do me that solid. She would not be like, oh, a black girl who's kind of weird and talks different than other black people and has a different experience. Whore! She would hate me. Which I'm doing something right. Very transphobic, opposed to welfare, opposed to immigration. Oh, gosh. Oh, opposed to climate change. What? Had just a bunch of, just all this comments about Adolf Hitler. Man. Ooh. Impressive. Impressive Wikipedia page, let me tell you. So this is another interesting thing. Her personal life. Okay, in early 2019, 3 weeks after they met, Owens became engaged to George Farmer, an Englishman and former chairman of Turning Point UK. Hold on, what's his name? George. Oh God. Farmer. Net worth. Y'all, this man has a net worth of $180 million. Which, I am really impressed with black women such as Serena Williams, Eve, the rapper. Remember her? Was it Janet Jackson? Candace Owens. I like when a black woman is like, I am going where I am celebrated. Let me get me this rich man who is going to, sit down, help me co-create whatever I want to co-create. So in 3 weeks, she gets engaged to one of the richest men in the world, a British dude, former chairman, he's a CEO of Parler. God. So not a great person. And, I gotta give it to her. Okay, so also this is her Instagram. It says Candace, oh wait, sorry, you can't see it. So, says Candace Owens. Candace Owens, free. Say what you will about her. That bitch is free. That girl is doing what she wants. She is not worried about what people who do not pay her bills think about her. I think we could all learn something about that. Um, you know, I see this like, okay, my cousin, my uncle, my aunt, this girl still has family. This girl still has friends. This girl has a rich husband, with a British accent. She's got her 2 babies that she wants. Like, she has got a platform. Billy says, faceless personas on the internet do get a lot of courage. Absolutely. They chose her. They saw her talent and gave her platforms intentionally. Absolutely. Like, I'm very impressed. Like, I wouldn't. It's so interesting. I was like, like, where did she, what were her turning points that like made her into the person she was? Don't, I haven't worn my hair permed or straightened in a decade at least. And, when I was 30, I was like, I'm not dating any more white men. They get everything. I'm not going to be one of those things, I am going to intentionally have the racist preference for black men as my serious dating partners. Not Candace, though. She didn't let that stop her. And, like, now she's, like, she has $180 million in, her wealth. And I understand, like, in the, it's just a very interesting prospect. And I want to, like, think about myself, in the pursuit of freedom. In what ways might I, push the ladder down for other black people and other women and be like, oh, I'm here. I got me my sexy British husband and he co-creates with me. And, bye. If I can do it, you guys can do it. And I just think that's so, like, that's so mean and, like, untrue. I'm very aware of, like, I'm lucky that, like, I'm in this, like, I was born to the parents I happened to be born to. I was born into, like, this able-bodied vessel, that, like, I'm born, I don't know, just all the things are very lucky. And I recognize that if I didn't have all of those huge advantages, I might not be having as great of a time right now. And so I don't like when someone is a very, has adopted this very binary way of thinking about things. Like, there's winners and there's losers, white supremacy doesn't exist, or, black people are all victims. It's just like, can't we have any nuance? Feminism is terrible, like Donald Trump is our savior. Like, girl, huh? Can't we have a little nuance? Can't we go back to 2016, Candace, when you were hoping for everyone to have a little more empathy in exchange for, like, trying to be correct, Where'd that go? She had said in the TED Talk, we have never been more connected and never been farther apart. And, like, that's not true. What are we talking about? People used to be enslaved. Like, we're certainly more connected than we've ever been, but I don't think we're farther apart. I just think we're, like, just now getting used to, like, oh, okay, so we can talk to, like, white people, we can talk to, like, men the same, and, like, we're trying to figure it out. But I don't want us to kind of have this, like, oh, we're so far apart. Like, girl, do you really think you're helping that much? You think this is the best way to do it? Billy says, but it requires compromising values, squeezes you into silly teams. The draw of fame and access is strong, and she is now in a weird place and has to endure a lot of crap and be a hypocrite. Oh, the music stopped. That's okay. I know. And it's tough. I find myself a very charismatic, beautiful, like, interesting to watch, black woman who's eloquent. I'm honestly not, I know academia is all made up and classist and bullshit, but, like, I could be very successful. Fox News conservatives would love it if I was their little, like, black girl darling. Oh my God, can you imagine? It would be very successful. But as Billy says, yeah, the draw of fame and access is strong, and she's now in a weird place and has to endure a lot of crap and be a hypocrite. Yeah, the reason I didn't want to, like, date white men seriously after a certain age was, like, I knew it was, I don't want to be in those creepy rooms. George Farmer, this, like, British wealthy ass dude who came from wealth. I don't want to have to hang out around those like people. Like, props to Meghan Markle, but like that sounds like a not great life to me. And why do you have to like? Ugh, I'm glad that I have this example of like, okay, I could get my freedom and be like, haha, fuck you guys, I did it, you guys are losers, and all of you are whining if you did. Like, I could do that, but like, no thanks. I'm like, I'm kind of loving my look and vibe that I'm going for, and I think it's going to be more successful. I'm going to, it's going to feel better to me, and like, just impressive life. Oh, and the other thing about her, she's only 33. She only became a conservative like 6 years ago. Who's to say my girl isn't playing a very long game? She's like showing she can navigate through these, historically spaces that were only for white men. She gets in there, gets her, like, traps this guy with a baby. Hopefully, has signed at least a prenup that gets her a lot of money in the end, and that she gets to like Robin Hood to everyone. What's the point of having millions if everyone's still in poverty and everything's still shitty? So hopefully she's gonna be doing like another flip after 40 or something. She's like, all right, now I am social justice warrior, feminist renaissance, trans activist, Candace Owens. I see that, like, when it's like a black man, I saw men, like, what's this guy? Daystar. His name is Tory Lanez. There's this dude who was like, he could not believe that Tory Lanez had not shot Megan Thee Stallion. He was like, oh, black man can't get a fair trial anywhere. See, oh, such a shame. What? Tory Lanez? Why would you band behind him? However, I do, as if you were on Sheba Sunday, one of the things I talked about was what women can learn from men. Hoes before bros, man. Like, if they can have this grace for men who would not spit on them if they were on fire, I can maybe have a little grace, a little solidarity with another black woman figuring it out in this weird ass, world, and see where that gets us. Because it's, you gotta hand it to men, it's gotten them pretty far. I definitely am not trying to be equal with dudes, because like that is a weird standard. Like, I don't like how dudes are. Like, why would I want that? Everything's about domination and like, performing. Like, no. So, interesting, right? Anyway, Candace Owens, man. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here and we're gonna start the lightning round. Billy, we should do it so it has a lightning thing when it starts too. Okay, so hopefully the sound of the lightning strike at the end is a little quieter because it's terrifying. Okay, so now I'm gonna go through and just try to do, what do you call it? Connect the dots on a bunch of things on this Wikipedia page. Okay, so I go to this thing, snaz, and then we're gonna start. Okay. Wow. Love it. Cardi B, yeah, they had a feud apparently. Oh, Baltimore club music. Yes. Because I think there's some hoes in this house. There's some hoes. It is from I think Baltimore trap beat. Yeah, Baltimore's amazing. DJ K Swift. Oh, right, she is a woman. Yep. She still does a radio show on 92Q. Okay, what else can we do? Hammerjacks. Man, this used to be this, like, it was a club. Was it an under 18 club? I don't know. I remember when I was in college, people went there and it closed like right around the time where I was like kind of gonna go to it. Anyway, Yep, 2006. John Waters. Now he's a Baltimore icon who I would like to kind of be like one day. So, and I think me and Billy are. People are gonna like love that shit. Oh, did I hit the timer? Fuck! I thought I did. Oh, it is. I don't know why it's... Oh, I see it. It's showing up. Okay. It's 51 seconds, Billy. All right. Yeah, John Samuel Waters. He's so awesome. And has anyone seen Hairspray? The original movie that has Ricky Lake in it. That's a great one. But I also really love the one that has John Travolta. That soundtrack is just... Mwah! It's got John Travolta in it. It's got Queen Latifah in it. It's got Amanda Bynes in it. It's just great. Okay. Mink Stole. Oh, right. Yeah. Who's she? She's an actress in John Waters films. Okay, cool. What else can we do? She's an ordained minister at the Universal Life Church. Oh, actually, I'm also an ordained minister at the Universal Life Church. If anyone wants me to officiate your wedding, I am ordained. Ah, fuck! Yep. Okay. Well, I did it. Holy moly. Anyway. Thank you for going on this down the black bunny hole with me on Candace Owens. Interesting character. That bitch is free. I say to myself all the time, like these affirmations, I'm loved, I'm safe, I'm powerful, I'm free. Candace Owens seems to be also having achieved that. So I guess if you're a black woman also, or if you're anyone, you can do it her way, you can do it my way, or you can do it a third totally different way, and it'll work out. Yeah, please maybe don't go the transphobia, anti-black, misogynist route. It's successful. It's very profitable. Her and Dave Chappelle, she likes his lighthearted takes on transphobia and telling it like it is. So I'm just like, oh, okay. Rich people being rich assholes. Cool. So know that it can be very profitable for you, but I'm not going to be your friend. And not that friendship with Sheba is everyone's goal, but it's pretty great. So you might want to, just keep it in mind. So be cool, please. Yeah, anyway, thanks for coming to the Black Bunny Hole with me. That was fun. I kind of nailed it. That's all I wanted to talk about. Really interesting. So, yeah, I'll see you on Sunday. I think I might interview my mom, the Queen Mother that created this amazing person. And maybe we can chat a little bit about this episode. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, y'all. Love you. See ya. Have a great weekend. Whew. How do I do this? I don't really have an ending for this one. All right. Later. Everything's made up. Love you. Bye.